All right, I'm glad to be here. My name is Carmine Bailey. I'm with Teledyne Brown Engineering. We're based out of Huntsville. Go back, please. Yeah. All right. We are one of 55 companies that make up Teledyne Technologies Incorporated, based out of Thousand Oaks, California. We are the largest single company within Teledyne Technologies itself. Our home base is in Huntsville, Alabama, right there with the Marshall Space Flight Center. Next slide, please. Doesn't want to cooperate. Okay, we were established in 1953 when Dr. von Braun's rocket team came to Huntsville, and he immediately went over to Atlanta and brought in a company, enticed them. The company's name was Brown Engineering at the time. Said, "Come on over. I need somebody to bend some metal for me to, build some rockets." They said, okay. We were bought out by Teledyne in the early 60s. And our first president at that time, Milton Cummings, they established Cummings Research Park in Huntsville, which is the second largest research park in the United States and the fourth largest in the world. So we have a lot of tradition there with Teledyne. And next slide, please. It's Microsoft, what can I tell you? We are a full spectrum engineering company, and that is with advanced manufacturing capabilities. We do engineered systems, that is, we can do everything from cradle to grave, if you like. The entire life cycle, concept definition, through operations, through sustainment and recapitalization. We can plug in at any point in the life cycle as far as engineering services are concerned. So if you just need test services, we can provide that. If you just need some specialized analysis, we can provide that also. And then our hardware manufacturing, we have built several pieces of hardware that have flown in space. A lot that has flown on the space station, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Next slide. We have worked every single NASA program that has been out there, from Explorer 1 through Space Station. We were part of the Constellation program, and we're working with the COTS partners, especially Orbital, at this time. Our two main thrust area for our Huntsville group, if we can go to the next slide, is in the payload integration and hardware development support. And we've supported the two main science programs for NASA over the past 30 years, which was the Space Lab program and the ISS program. And so we've got a lot of hours logged on console in doing integration and that stuff. We know what's expected for that, and we've been a part of that pretty much since the beginning. If you look down these lists, and I won't go through everything, but there are subtle differences between the Space Lab model and the ISS model, in that with Space Lab, basically, if you were flying in Space Lab, you were assigned an experiment integration engineer and a crew procedure engineer, and they work with you hand in hand to get your science and everything on board. That model didn't really fit for ISS, which is running 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, because if you went and extrapolated the Space Lab model to ISS, you would have a marching army that NASA or the taxpayers of the United States wouldn't be able to afford. So the model was changed so that the payload developers would have more responsibility for the products that they needed to bring to the table in order to fly on space station. So if we go to the next chart, you can see the space station process. Okay, with NASA's driving documents being up there, which define all the requirements in order to fly on space station. The bottom box in gray would be the integration and operations teams, what they provide, the products that we have to put out in order to make sure that this is successful to fly, that we're ready to go and get your science done. And then the green really represents the payload developers. Now, because we're hit the page down, and let's see if the red tabs come up. They probably won't. No, but okay, so in the top section there on the driving documents, those we had some hand in writing a lot of those requirements and helping with that. So we understand the requirements and what it takes to fly on station. And in the bottom, in the gray area, we are already under contract to support NASA in all of those elements there. So the question becomes, how much of the PD deliverables do you want to do to fly on station? You may want to do all of it. You may not want to do any of it and let somebody else do it. So that's certainly something as an implementation partner that we can plug ourselves into and help you in getting those products, to the right boards and everything so that you're ready to fly. And we can do it in a very rapid scenario in there. We've gone through a lot of lean process to get and refine our processes. So this is not something that, you get in there and it's going to, I don't know, people have probably heard nightmares about, it takes 3 years to get through the NASA process on station. No, I think we can get you down into the 12-month range or 6-month range if you've got hardware that doesn't involve the crew, and certainly get you on as rapidly as we can. Next slide, please. Okay, so from Teledyne's perspective, these are the science facilities that we provide operational support in the POIC, Payload Operations Integration Center in Huntsville for NASA. All the express racks, the -80-degree, the freezers, the window observational research facility, and the external express logistics carriers. So any payload that's coming in to any of these facilities, for sure, at some point you're going to get a phone call from somebody from the operations team that's going to say, hey, we understand that you're flying on station. We understand that you've got crew procedures or whatever, and we're here to help you, get all of that through so that we can understand and we're able to help you operate on orbit. Go to the next slide. The difference with these two facilities is that we also do the integration of these two facilities, the microgravity science glove box and the material science research rack. The MSG was European rack, came over, Teledyne did the integration of the parts of that rack. It is a U.S. asset, and the material science research rack we built from ground up, and except for the MSL piece of it, which is European in there. But and in parentheses at the bottom of these are the number of hours that the racks have run on orbit in there. Next chart, as of last Wednesday, I should say. TVs now. So services that you can expect from our team are certainly, if it involves any of Express or WRF or MSG or MSRR, we have at Marshall Space Flight Center the Space Station Integration and Test Facility, where you can come and bring your payload in. We hook it up to the appropriate rack, whether it's an Express rack or we can simulate the WRF rack because it's an Express derivative. We have an MSG, the element in there. We also have an engineering unit of MSRR. We can hook you up and put you in there and do an end-to-end test. That is, you can go through and basically go and make sure that your command and data handling interfaces and everything are working. It's right there by the Payload Ops and Integration Center, so we actually can do the commanding from the Integration Center itself to make sure that the database and everything on the commands, that they're all set up right. We can close out any verification that you might have for tests. It's really a way to go and validate everything with your payload so that we can get more into this ship and shoot type of thing where it comes in. We do the test on it, make sure, hey, this is ready to go, or this is ready to go, but you got these open items, so we got to close these items before we're ready to operate on orbit. However we do that, but this is something that from our perspective and from NASA's perspective that's there for you to utilize. If you just have an engineering unit, you're trying to shake out your ops concept or something like that, again, this is a facility, it's an asset that's out there for you to utilize. Next. And then there's the operations support. And so being an ops guy, and of course, all my engineering friends out there will sit there and say, well, he's just an ops guy, he doesn't know anything. Well, we know a lot, okay? We're here and we service the facilities and everything on board that's payload driven. All those systems, we monitor them 24 hours a day. We manage the execution of the timeline itself. It was funny, I was talking with a payload that wants to come up and fly on station, and basically they said, hey, yeah, we're just going to we've flown this thing before on free flyers, and no problem, we're just going to put our planning data up. We don't need to utilize you guys. And we sat there and said, oh, that's really neat. That's great. You're going to upload your planning data, and you're going to put it in there, and you'll probably put it in there on a day of progress docks, because you haven't coordinated with us. And when they dock kind of hard, and there's vibration and everything. What's that going to do to your experiment? Well, we won't get any data at that time. Okay, well, you need to come through our planning process and integrate with us. We'll integrate your plan into the station's plan and make sure that your science is successful. So that's a major piece of what we do. Also, the remote access. You don't need to, if you were a Space Lab flyer, you don't need to come to Huntsville to run your experiment. When it runs, we will set you up remotely so that you can command from wherever you want. Okay? Stay at a Holiday Inn that day so that you have a good restful night before you go and command that day. But basically, these services are there, they're standard. You've got an ops team that's dedicated to making sure that you're successful. And if there are problems, they will engage themselves profusely to try to make sure you're up and running and going again. Next slide, please. Okay, now, what services can we, as an implementation partner, can we provide? Well, like I said, we've built and we've brought here several pieces of hardware that have already flown on station before. If you're external, you're probably going to be carried up on a FRAM. We build those FRAMs for NASA themselves, and you'll be placed on the ELC outside and be hooked up with power and whatever else that you need, power and data on that. Cables, data acquisition systems, whatever you've got, basically, if you can think it, we can build it. Next slide, please. From engineering, integration, and test services. Now, this would not be the integration test that I talked about before, but this would be up before, making sure that your design meets the station requirements, making sure that the analysis for thermal, electrical, digital stress, whatever, materials, all of your safety products. We've done that for several payloads before. We can help you with that at whatever level of commitment that you want for us. That's what part of being the implementation partner is all about, being able to go and rapidly do that without having to learn the processes and the requirements, making sure everything is there and ready for you to go. We can also facilitate testing. We've got access to a lot of the NASA facilities for vibration and EMI, EMC type testing. If you don't have access to any of that, we can certainly go and get you scheduled for that, and we'll do what we can. We've also got reach back to our other 55 companies in Teledyne Technologies that we can also utilize their facilities if they're available. Next. Okay, and then last is operations integration services. The remote command and telemetry development using TREC, the Telescience Resource Toolkit, is basically a piece of software that was written by NASA that we are very familiar with. Normally you would have to come to Huntsville, spend a week being trained on how to utilize that, then go back like any other piece of software and start learning it. We can build these displays. This is where you would command and monitor your payload from. Wherever we can build these very rapidly and get them out to you. We also have other products that we're working on sort of commercially to help with this also. Training courseware, curriculum, development. A lot of times you don't realize that, we really need, if we can get trainer hardware, and train the crew on it, then we're in great shape. Human factors engineers, all of that stuff. And if you don't like getting up at 2 in the morning when the crew gets up and running your experiment, you can certainly, ask for real-time console support on your behalf, and we can act as you in issuing the commands and whatnot for that. And we've done that in the past also. Next slide. Okay, so in summary, Teledyne, we've got over 50 years of experience supporting NASA, 35 years supporting NASA space science. We're an integral part of the existing ISS payload integration and operations team. We can partner with you to help you get your science going. That's our main objective is science. That's what drives a lot of our team, is just being an enabler and enabler for you to utilize space station. Our value proposition, we're a medium-sized company, but we have large company-type capabilities, but a medium-sized value and flexibility. And the value to the payload investigator, Teledyne has the processes, people, tools, skills, experience. We know this business, and we can certainly do well by y'all. So thank you very much.